Brock, once again, joining me on the air. Brock, how are we?
Doing very well, Gino. Thank you for having me on Let's Talk Dating.
Yes, let's talk dating. Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Today's question is from Brianna, and we'll get right into it. She says, "Hey, Gino, I'd love for you to ask Brock about his opinion on age gaps. My boyfriend is almost 15 years older than me, and even though we get along so well, there are still things that we just don't get about one another. And my friends think it's because of the difference in age. For reference, I'm 20 and he's 34. I love to hear what Brock thinks. Thank you." And again, that was sent in from Brianna.
All right, Brianna, thank you for sending this. As soon as I posted this to my social media, people were blowing me up about wanting to also know, like, hey, what's that perfect age gap for a really successful relationship? So you're 20, your boyfriend's 34. Let's kind of talk about where he is in his life, and then I guess where you are in his. So I always recommend that if anybody's really wanting to date a guy, really for like seriously, try to date somebody that's over 30. And the reasons for that are a guy in his 20s really needs to work on developing his network, his life experience, his competence in things, work on like his purpose, find out who he is, because until he does that, he's really not going to be a really good partner for anybody long term. I'm not saying this is always the case, but more often you do want to date a guy that's 30 or above. Now, you being 20, I kind of want to say the same thing for you as well. You need to do a little bit of life exploring, find who you are. Like legally, you can't even buy alcohol yet. So don't tie yourself down or sell yourself on the idea like, you know, this is the only person. Definitely glad that you guys get along extremely well, but that is kind of a big gap just for where you are. If you were maybe 25, 26, and there was a 15 gap from there, it wouldn't be so different. But these next 4 years are going to be huge for your development and your journey about finding and discovering who you are. And that's kind of the case for most people. But after the age of like 26, 27, age gaps don't matter too much. But I'm going to say something that I did see on Millionaire Matchmaker, who I think a lot of people have watched this show at least once. Mm-hmm. So she matched this older guy up. He was probably like pushing 60, say 55, 60, and matched him up with a 23-year-old, really beautiful young woman. And it shows them both getting into his sports car at the end of the show. It's all mic'd up. And he says, "So what kind of music do you like?" And she says, "Linkin Park." And it's just a hilarious moment that you get to see, wow, there's a huge like world disparity here in terms of experience and all that type of stuff. Like, how are you going to be able to relate to each other? But yeah, that's kind of my recommendation for age gaps. If you can, keep it within 8 years. That's statistically the ideal age gap difference.
Thank you, Brock, for your advice. And of course, thank you to Brianna for writing in. Again, if you have a question for Brock and you'd like him to tackle it, send me an email and we'll get it on the air here. That's Gino, Gino, at WDODradio.com. Brock has a website as well that you should definitely check out, brockolson.com. And Brock, you actually mentioned before we got on the air here that you have done a full podcast on age gaps and kind of dove into that world a little bit more.
I certainly have, yeah. So my podcast is called Dating Today, and the only way to see that is on YouTube. So you can go to Dating Today on YouTube and check out a bunch of those episodes. And yes, age gaps was a very specific episode, and it was really, really eye-opening. A lot of helpful statistics and really, really cool opportunity just to see what success rates are within certain types of age gaps.
Excellent. Yeah, so if you guys have more questions or would like to know more, that would be a great resource as well. And Brock also has some speed dating coming up next month and all types of things. Make sure you follow him on social media. Brock Olson, thank you so much for the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, Gino. Thank you.